Imagine you work in a hot, not very safe building for 12 hours. It's 12 hours plus a day, 6 days a week, and you don't get any breaks. And on top of that, you're only getting paid 55 cents to $2 an hour. This is what Chinese sweatshop workers experience every day. So I'm here to tell you about how it's unethical for us to exploit them because of their country's minimum wage policies. I've done a lot of research on this topic, and I am informed enough that I'm an expert now to tell you and inform you about this topic. So I'm going to talk about 3 main points today. My first one is, we're going to talk about what these conditions look like. I'm going to try to paint a visual image in your head to kind of get you thinking about what it looks like. And then I'm going to move on to who benefits from these conditions and also their arguments for it. And then lastly, I'll talk about what we can do to fix this. So let's dive into the first part. What does this look like? I'm going to put up a couple of facts, which I think will help you guys. Can you guys see that? Is that clear? Is it clear? I'll just read it. Okay, the first fact is, in 2009 alone, approximately 1 million workers suffered industrial injuries, and about 20 million were victims of occupational diseases. Now, keep that in the back of your mind. This third fact is going to make that even more alert. So in 2010, only 13.6% of migrant workers were part of the government's pension scheme. 18.9% were part of the government's medical insurance scheme, and 26.2% were part of the government's work-related condition. So out of that 1 million, these small percents were the only ones covered by the government, which to me is absolutely crazy. And the second fact is, in 2010, the average monthly salary, including overtime for migrant workers, was 1,690 yen. So 1,690 yen converts to about $276 a month. That's a monthly salary. And you're probably thinking, what is the living cost in China? So I have another chart here that kind of helps us see that. It's the very last one. And it says monthly rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in China, and it compares it to the U.S. In China, it's $342.99. And they're only making on average $276. And this is not including food, families, and things like that. To give you another example, this is going to sound kind of weird, but a Big Mac, the price of a Big Mac. Average price of a Big Mac in China, $2.27. If you're making like 55 cents an hour, you're not getting many Big Macs. So that just shows that they're not getting paid enough to even support themselves or families that they have. So I'm going to give you another image from Abida Shabakaraja. Excuse me, it's a very difficult name. He's a senior economics commentator for The Guardian. And The Guardian is a Pulitzer Prize-winning website. And he writes in his article, "The Woman Who Almost Died Making Her iPad." He talks about a 17-year-old girl who works in one of these factories, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, not many breaks. The stress got to her and she reverted to committing suicide. So she jumped off the 4th floor of her factory. Luckily, she did not die. She was in a coma for 12 days, and now she's paralyzed from the waist down. But the thing that's alerting about this, 18 other people in that factory alone tried to commit suicide that same day. 18 people. And instead of this company raising their pensions, getting them medical help, giving them more breaks, they simply built nets around the building. They built nets so these people can jump and not die and still continue working. To me, that's absolutely disgusting. So you're probably thinking, who benefits from this? Why would someone do this? So we're going to start off with big business owners. So obviously big business owners benefit from this. I'm going to show you guys one more graph. And this graph is going to talk about the average hourly wage. And it's going to also compare it to, that's the first graph here. It's going to compare it to the U.S. and China. Average hourly wage in the U.S. is $23.32. And in China, it's $1.36. That is a huge gap. So obviously these business owners can go over to China and pay these people barely, well, not even enough to live, as the stats showed earlier. And their argument for this is business regulation. Now, regulation of business is kind of a hot topic. That's why I found some stats to see how other Americans view it. From Frank Newport, He's also a senior analyst at Gallup. 22% of Americans think that business regulation in the U.S. is too low. 49%, so that's about 50%, half our population, thinks that business regulation is too much. I personally think that if businesses are going to go out of the country and exploit these people for their cheap labor, I think they should at least have a minimum set number that they pay them, so they can at least get by. The next group that benefits from this is us as citizens. We can go to Walmart, we can go to Apple, we can get these great things for cheap prices, and we don't really have to think about the story behind these things. But I think it's important that we do remember that someone, especially in these larger companies, someone somewhere is working for barely anything to make these products that we get so cheap. And then thirdly is the Chinese government. Them letting the businesses into their country and them striving and gaining capital, it's not illegal. Nothing's wrong with that. But since these people do exploit them for such cheap labor, then they don't necessarily have to regulate these these minimum wages. So you're probably thinking, what can I do? It's a big topic. What can I do? You can only do it on a very small scale. So I think it's important that we stay informed. When you buy things, research what the company does. Like research where they're out of, research how much they pay their employees and things like that, just to know who you're giving your money to. And also, I think it's important that we talk to our senators, talk to our governors, so they can tell the people who are in higher power, so maybe these things can come about and change. And this is a huge topic, and it's not going to change overnight, and maybe not in our lifetime. But as I've said before, if you sit back and you're simply a bystander and you're not against it, then you're for it. So making small changes, I think, is very important. So what I've talked about today is, I showed you guys what these conditions look like, and then I moved on and told you who benefits from them, kind of the arguments for it, and then lastly, I told you how we could change it. And I hope I've informed you well, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me speak.